Hello, everybody. This is No Bullshit Game Podcast and other gamers. No, I'm kidding. So, hello. My name is Matej Lančarič, and we should be having this presentation live. But, well, life happens. And my daughter was sick. My wife was sick. We all got COVID again in 3 months, the second time. So, I'm still taking care of both girls. So thank you very much for understanding. This is going to be a recorded session. Please ask any questions you might have in the Slack channel in the Growth Lab. All right. So today we're going to talk about how to run profitable UA post DFA. So yeah, let's talk about the agenda. So I'm going to talk about iOS14 challenges. We all have these challenges, right? Scan conversion schemas, how to set it up, what kind of benchmarks we see in apps versus ads, monetized games, what are the differences, what are the UA requirements for running profitable UA campaigns on iOS. Then we are going to talk about the top scan channels, and I'm going to share some insights about how I structure campaigns. Then talking about UA diversification, campaign evaluation, and then creative testing and scaling the games, or scaling your game on iOS and, well, basically in general. So yeah, who am I? This is me being the top 30 marketing UA guys, but I'm in the industry for like 9 years so far, worked with different companies, spent 5 years at Pixel Federation, where I actually learned everything I know now, soft launch and global launch all their games, and then moved to other marketing agency, and now I work as UA consultant, working with different companies. I have my own creative team of 12 motion designers, and I trust them with my UA life. And in the last 5 years, been able to soft launch and global launch around 30 games, which was kind of nice ride, and I love it. And recently my daughter was born, so even a new global launch. So what should we do and talk about now? Let's talk about the challenges, and let's start with that. So what should we do in terms of the conversion schemas? Which conversion schemas to use? How to measure the performance? Can we actually predict the performance? What can we do? What is privacy threshold? How can we actually work with those privacy thresholds in the campaigns? How are we scaling the iOS campaign? How are we scaling the game? Is there any creative framework or testing on iOS 14? What should be the UA channel mix in our campaigns? So these are the different UA challenges, or not only even UA challenges, but challenges on iOS and in the game developer space, I think. So I would start with the the actual iOS 14 benchmarks in terms of the scan conversion schema. These are from the September 2021. If you want to just check the actual current benchmarks, just go to appsflyer.com and then just try to find the benchmarks there. They are, I think, on the monthly basis, and you can see the current ones. But they are not changing that much. So what we can see here is basically a combination of different revenue models, in-app models, and funnel models. So this was in gaming. Almost every company, or like you see here, 80% of the companies use the revenue model, or used in the past. This started to change, I think, at the end of last year, and now we are moving a little bit more towards the custom conversion schemas and conversion models, which means in here as well, you can see there are funnel plus revenues, funnel and in-app events. multiple combination funnel, in-app events, and revenues. So what should you do? It's very easy. Well, in the last growth lab, I talked about how to test the shit out of the conversion schema. It's still true, although not all the companies and in all the situation you can test and change the schema from A to B because you're spending a lot of money. But but if you can actually test it out, I would definitely advise that. But in my journey and how I did what I did and like how I tested all these like conversion schemas in the past and how I moved from one to another, I started on funnel conversion schema, then switched to revenues because it made a lot of sense, but then eventually ended up on custom. And usually custom, for me at least, works the best in terms of getting the most out of the conversion schema, getting more data, and then we have the ability to actually run the value-based or value-optimized campaigns. There are slightly differences between the in-apps or the in-app revenue or in-app ads revenue and in-app purchases revenue monetized games. You can use actually both in the revenue brackets, and here's one example I use for one game. So we are monitoring some events, and then we have the revenue buckets. We have 16 revenue buckets, which are divided by like $2. And we are monitoring both in-app revenue and ads revenue inside this. This is basically, I think, possible on Singular. Not so sure about the other MMPs, but definitely Singular is the way to go in here. If you have all these schemas tested out and set it up, it's usually like the first thing that I ask companies when I try to run the iOS campaigns, like what is the conversion schema, and then if there are other stuff like these requirements. So not only the schema is important, but also how are you tracking the events? So the first 24 hours are super important. As much events or as many events as possible, if you can get it back to Facebook, but also to other UA channels. And if you're able to actually track them, it's going to help you with the campaigns and in the actual setup. With the Scan 4.0 coming to help us prolong this and get like more postbacks, that's going to be a huge help. Nobody knows actually if it's going to happen tomorrow or the end of the year, as Apple suggests. We'll see. Well, ideally, if you are trying to run profitable UA on iOS, it's really helpful to have a data team that can help with the evaluation, with setting up the scan conversion schemas, with trying to predict the LTV, or even better, create a media mix modeling. If you don't have the data team and you're a small team, don't worry, it's totally fine. It's just going to be a little bit more challenging, and it's going to be a little bit harder to run these campaigns, but you will get there. You will get there. It's just, I guess, trial and error type of situation. But I'm still pretty much optimistic that you can handle it. What else should we talk about in these requirements? I still believe the pre-prompt Windows testing or pre-prompt window testing is very much required. Not only the messaging, but also the visuals, and also ability to A/B test the ATT placements. It's been a big thing when the ATT started, or like all these IDFA shenanigans started to pop up, and all these IDFA apocalypse started to happen. Well, actually they didn't happen, or it didn't happen. It's still important to test these things and try to maximize the IDFA opt-in rates, not only for UA, but also if you have ad monetized games, just for your ad monetization to actually work as well as before. So here are some data points and examples from Christian Calderon that he shared with one of my friends, Jakub Remiar, when they had one game camp presentation, and he actually showed that the IDFA opt-in rates are not like 18%, as everybody discussed and predicted. It can actually grow to 50, 60, 70, or 80%. Depends on the actual placement. And here you have the different placements: up, open, tutorial, after level 2, 3, 5. All these are just like within like a couple of minutes of gameplay. So let's not put the ATT too far from the actual install. That's not gonna work. Or maybe it's gonna work. You need to test it out. Here are some examples also, like how the visuals should look like, or should. You can do whatever you want in terms of the experimentation. These are just some examples that actually worked for them. Really nice, appealing game artwork and some text. If you find one of our episodes at 2.5 Gamers, Felix actually talked about like how the pre-prompt window should look like. I think it was in the episode 24 when we talked about IDFAs and how it's not actually an apocalypse and end of the year. Oh dear, end of the world, obviously. All right. So in terms of the channels, so we have all these requirements. We have data team. We have everything we need to start running the campaign. So what kind of channels are the top ones that are out there in terms of the iOS? In my book, this is the top one that works super well. It's TikTok, and these are some of the strategies that I use on the TikTok side. I always group the countries. I have a US campaign, then I try to create tiers based on the LTV. So tier 1 with all the UK, Canada, whatever you want, whatever you have in the LTV, in the same range of the LTV. And then tier 2 and the rest of the world. So in this case, I don't have too many campaigns. I have only 4 campaigns for purchase optimized campaigns. And then obviously when you are in the beta for value, then using rest of the world or worldwide for the value optimization because of the privacy threshold. So privacy threshold you need to meet on a daily basis to be able to get the postbacks from MMP or through whatever you from the MMP. Let's stay with MMP. And in the TikTok side, on the TikTok side, you need 90 installs per day per campaign. So grouping makes a lot of sense. For the creative optimization here, I use like the ACO, automated creative optimization, and that can generate actually like 150 ad variations for you with all the dynamic CTA, 30 videos, and whatever else. So that's great. Don't push it, right? So you don't need to have like 150 creatives. You need at least 3 different variations of videos to be able to get some level of automated creatives. And actually for TikTok, you can use the scan reporting for evaluation. You have three different metrics that can help you evaluate the creatives, at least to a certain extent, of course. What you need to expect, what you should expect, is longer learning phase, and it's not only TikTok, but it's also on Facebook and other channels. Oh well, let's talk about TikTok and Facebook only, because of the SCAD network delays and also IDFA losses. But what you need to think about, and then just don't forget, let's not make any adjustments on the campaign level in the first 72 hours. Why? Well, obviously because you need to wait 72 hours to actually see any type of data on the install side and the postback side. So if you make adjustments, you are making adjustments based on zero data, so based on your emotions, and that's not good. So that let's not panic. Let's not panic too much. I know sometimes it's pretty hard because you're spending a lot of money and you don't see anything. Don't worry, the numbers will show up. So how about Facebook? For Facebook, you need to aim for at least like 88 installs per campaign per day to pass the privacy threshold. It was 128 back in days. Now it changed for some reason. They didn't tell anyone. You had to find it in the documentation. And here also, like, the simplification of the campaign structure applies. So try to combine campaigns and ad sets, and use broad targeting as much as you can to group the campaigns and ad sets. I still use lookalikes, interests, and broad targeting because, well, why not? Why not to experiment with everything that you can if you have enough budget? But still, if you don't, then you want to just squeeze the most out of your campaign structure, simplified stuff, and move and combine campaigns and ad sets. And also try to consider moving to AAA campaigns, the automated app ads. I know there's this like super weird Advantage Plus type of campaigns, which are the new AAA campaigns, and it makes our life a little bit worse than before, because with AAA campaigns it was easy, just put 20 creatives inside and then you're good. Now it's more manual work, but still works like a charm. And you need to think about how to run the campaigns with different budgets. And, speaking about different budgets and also taking into consideration, you need to have 88 installs per day. Usually iOS is more expensive than Android. So I came up with this formula. If you take a look at the CPI on Android, just multiply them by 5, sometimes by 8. And you will get the CPI that you can see on iOS. There are exceptions, obviously, but I would use like 500 minimum budget per day, ideally more. And why ideally more is because you need to pass the privacy threshold. If you don't pass it, it will say zero. Zero in terms of the purchases, in terms of the revenue, and that can be really misleading because your campaigns can work pretty well, but you are not seeing anything. So you again make bad decisions based on the data because you don't see the full picture. And when talking about the AAA campaigns, what I found out is really, really interesting type of optimization on the campaign level is the mobile app install plus purchase optimization. So this is a tactic that is going to help you to get lower CPIs on iOS, but still at the same time quality traffic. I mean, it's not the same quality as with purchase campaigns or value campaigns, but it's close. And the CPIs are super low on this type of campaign, so definitely try it out. And here, when we talk about the consolidation of the countries, I use these country buckets or geo buckets, and this is my current list. For tier 1, I use US, UK, Canada, France, Germany, Australia, Korea, Japan, Switzerland. Then I have tier 2, where I have the Nordics, Netherlands, Spain, Italy, Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand. And then there is tier 3, which is made from Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Belgium, Austria, Ireland, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Taiwan, Thailand, and this is Bulgaria, I think. Then I have rest of the world. So this is based on the LTV of a specific game. Do your own homework. Don't copy this, although you might see a good result out of it. It can be an inspiration for you guys. Just do your own homework. And always, if you hear all these best practices out there, get inspired, but always double check and do your own homework. But okay, let's get back. With Google, we are finally getting somewhere because everything that was on Google was just crap. Until this point, they're bringing back the TROAS campaigns, which in the past, that was the most or the best performing type of campaign on iOS platform that actually I was able to run before the IDFA hit. And they are bringing it back. Questionable, like how they do all these things at the back end, most probably just modeling the conversions. And we have 5 days delay, which makes the life super bad and, well, terrible. But it's not that bad, actually. The TROAS campaigns on iOS, we still need to think about like how to get at least 100 installs per campaign per day, which to pass the privacy threshold. Google brought to the party also the scan, still pretty late, but it's there. What I would say is the TROAS campaigns are actually working. They are fluctuating a lot. You don't see super big stability from the start, but then eventually, as we see here in the screenshot, in the last 14 days, the spend was pretty consistent. The ROAS actually improved over time. The last 5 days, it's still not fully baked, so we don't see those data. So, there you go again. We are making a decision based on the 5 days old data, which is not ideal, but what can we do? So definitely ask your Google representative to be whitelisted for the TROAS campaigns on Google. They work well, at least for me. But you can't rely only on free channels on iOS, especially not on Google only. Facebook, TikTok will do the trick, but then we have Unity ads, AppLovin, and the other ad networks. Twitter can't really believe it made to the top 8, but for games, but some games have actually some success. Well, in my UA channel mix, there's always Unity for iOS, always at least 1 or 2 campaigns, mainly on my top tier geo, which usually is US, and then both on the CPI side and ROAS side, and then I'm trying to add AppLovin as soon as I can. So that brings us to 5 channels when we talk about TikTok, Facebook, AppLovin, Google, and Unity, and then obviously Iron Source. It's depends on the level of budget you can get. This is all nice. We run campaigns, but are we able to actually properly evaluate the campaigns? That's the tricky question that all of us had before, and that made a lot of companies just stop the spend and stop spending because, well, they basically couldn't evaluate properly how they're spending their money, which is on one hand true. On the other hand, well, if you're scared, then don't spend money. You need to be able to identify the baseline that you have on the, I think, country level. What are you getting in terms of the installs? What are you getting in terms of the revenue? And then start the campaigns on iOS and then build step by step. If you just can't do this, I mean, it's pretty elementary, and it's pretty easy to identify the baseline. But with smaller teams and smaller companies without a data team, do, they use the blended approach. They try to spend X and try to measure what happens to the revenue when they start spending. If there is a increase of the revenues, or if the revenue stays flat and they just burning money, which is very close to identifying the baseline. So you can use the blended approach. And then if you have the data team, they can help with the incrementality tests to see if you're running some campaigns on different channels, how they contribute to the level of revenue you are getting, or if they are cannibalizing other sources. Usually, what our data team very good for is the prediction models, and I use prediction PLTV and the predictions for the iOS campaigns as well. You can build those models from the day one of the player journey. So first 24 hours, again, super important. Use those data to actually create those prediction models. And if you have a big enough data team, big enough, they can build media mix modeling for you as well, and then you will be able to see the whole picture of everything. But worry not, if you don't have the data team, just use the blended approach. Try to think what how much money is coming in and how much money is coming out. That's it. It's very simple. What about creatives? This is a super big topic in terms of the iOS. So creative testing, where to start? So people usually tested out creatives on both Android and iOS before the IDFA shenanigans happened, and then applied these learnings to either iOS or Android. So now people try to test creatives on iOS and Android as well. But since the evaluation is pretty hard, and you don't get too many creative level insights, some platforms and UI channels you have, but it's not ideal. You can't be 200% sure, not even 200% sure that what you are looking at are actually the right data points. Usually these platforms use modeled conversions, and that's not ideal. Let's face it. So what I do, I try to test out the creatives on Android, then apply the learnings to iOS. I'm testing it on Facebook, then applying those learnings across the other channels, or testing on TikTok and then applying the learnings to other channels. So I know right now a lot of you just raised their eyebrows, like, whoa, why? Why is he doing that? Why is he not doing the different TikTok creative strategy that everybody is talking about? The real people in the creatives and making TikToks, not creatives. Well, okay. So if you find a winner, but true winner, not like a semi-winner that is performing okay, but the winner is going to perform on every channel, on every platform. Exactly like these days when I published the case study of Survivor.io, their creative strategy was very simple, using a lot of gameplay, alternative gameplay with the loads of zombies. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to my website and then try to check it out. But they used very simplified versions of creatives, no real people, nothing. And they used free concepts across all the channels. And they are spending like crazy. They're now making actually around like 2 million revenues a day in apps plus ads combined. So they really know what they're doing, and they're not using any real people in the TikTok side of things and stuff like that. So they use the winners that they tried and tested out in the soft launch. Now they're using it on after the global launch, and they're using it everywhere. So if you hear you need to all create different creatives for different channels, do your own homework, try to test it out. you can find very interesting and different results, right? So just keep in mind, if you find a winner, it's a winner everywhere. But now, how to scale not only on iOS, but by the way, how to scale a game? It started with like asking yourself a question, because scaling is not the same for everybody. For some, it's like $1 million spent a day. So you're spending $1 million a day, you're scaling, you're growing the game, getting loads of money. For some other people, it's just millions in revenues. They're getting several millions a day in terms of the revenues. Perfect. But they're not making that much of profit, so it's actually millions in profit. Hard to say. So scale is very different for very different types of people. And then you need to ask what kind of payback period you can afford that is actually scale. So if you are growing budgets, or if you're spending $1,000 a day and you are making that money back in 7 days, it's great. If you're spending $10,000 a day, most probably you won't make the money back in 7 days, but that money is going to get back 30 days, maybe. So with higher amount of spend, it requires a longer payback period. So it all comes down to a very simple equation: CPI versus the LTV. And usually what you will find out is that the CPI needs to be lower than the LTV at certain point in the future. So for example, CPI needs to be lower than day 30 LTV, or CPI needs to be lower than day 180 LTV or 360 LTV. Depends what kind of cash flow situation you have in your company. But the thing is, people think about the scaling as a function of the UA, and the UA will save and scale every game. Well, it's not the case. So while UA is the one thing, the game team and LTV is the other part of the equation. So of course, if you want to scale a game, you need to think about like different things from the UA. So there's the iOS14 part that I talked about today. It's very important, because if you spend your budget only on Android, you will never scale any game. It's just, if you want to grow, you will grow to a certain point. If without iOS, if you don't have that, if you add the iOS, you can grow again, but you will grow and scale until the LTV allows you to. Period. That's how it works. If you start working on the UA strategy, different creative frameworks and different concepts, you will really squeeze the most out of the whole ASO, the whole user flow. You will maximize your IPM on the creative side and do all these things. You will be able to do, or like maybe increase the budget by 10 to 20%. Not more, because the LTV is the most important part of this equation. That dictates the level of scale. And in that case, you need to be very close with your game teams and the product team as well. Because all these like special offers, the new content, and then the retention, obviously, all make a very big impact on the level of ROAS you can see on your campaigns. So let's say your day 60 retention is 2%. Doesn't make any sense to optimize the campaigns for 1 year payback period, because you will never see that money back ever. Since after 60 days, there's a very small amount of players actually playing the game. So you need to think about these type of things. And like, are your players actually purchasing more than once? What kind of average revenue per paying user you are getting at the moment? Can that be increased? Is the special offers, or are you having events in the game? So all these game related things that are super important to allow you to improve the scale. So when someone asks, yes, we are scaling and we are working together with the game team to make it happen. And we are looking at the iOS, we are looking at the Android, we are looking at the events, and we are looking at the game-related KPIs. So main takeaways from today. Don't panic if you don't see the data in the first 72 hours. You won't see them, but then they start to appear thanks to the SKA network and how it works. So make those adjustments after you see the first data, ideally not right after you see the first data, because it takes at least 24 hours to all the numbers to settle in a little bit. So wait another day, then make decisions, then make optimization steps. Diversify the UA. It's everything. I'm talking about this for a lot and I talked about it in the last 6 months a lot. These days, it's not only about spending big on one or two channels. It's about spending a smaller amount of money on multiple channels. It requires more work, but it can get you better results. So looking at Unity, Facebook, TikTok, Google, Uplavin, Iron Source, all these, and create a mix of 6 channels where you spend 100,000 can get you in total 600,000. And if you spend 2 or 300 on one channel or 2 channels, it's most probably not gonna get you the same result. Think about the consolidation of the campaigns, and I'm pretty sure you heard that millions of times before. Less campaigns, lower number of campaigns, higher budgets, and to get more data points or more prospects to those campaigns. Focus on tiers. Try to refresh the tiers or the geo buckets every quarter at least. If you are spending 500,000 plus, ideally, or somewhere around million, you should think about how to reorganize these tiers at least on a monthly basis. Don't forget, test creatives on Android, save some money and energy and resources. Try to do it on Android and then apply those results or learnings to iOS and other channels as well. And when you are scaling or talking about scaling, it's not only about the UA. It's a combination of multiple things and multiple departments. And since you work as a team, it's a cross-department team and the cross-department challenge to scale game. And I guess that's it. So please ask your questions here. Here, fortunately not here, but on Slack, send me a message on LinkedIn or email, or visit my web, lancaric.me, lancaric.me. Thank you. Here are some case studies you can check afterwards. But all right, thanks.